I'm Elizabeth Demers, Editorial Director and Political Science Editor for University of Michigan Press. Welcome to our APSA 2020 virtual exhibit. We're disappointed we can't be with you in person this year, but we're very excited to bring you a terrific new lineup of books. I specifically want to talk about the Debate and Democracy collection. Democracy and Debate is an interdisciplinary collection of 25 books that explore the core tensions in American political culture, tensions that erupt every 4 years during the presidential election. Intended as a companion to the University of Michigan's Democracy and Debate teaching and learning efforts this fall, or to anyone who wishes to better understand the context for the United States' democratic institutions and conflicts, the Press's 2020 presidential election reading list offers an opportunity for students to experience the richest, most comprehensive scholarship available today. Readers will find books that contextualize their own experiences of voting in America, as well as big-picture analyses of leadership, activism, and international pressures, as well as critiques of the democratic processes that control who gets to sit in the chair and who gets to pull the lever. Thank you so much for visiting the University of Michigan virtual exhibit at APSA 2020. We'll see you in person next year.
Hello, my name is Emile Lester. My book, Liberalism and Leadership, examines the political thought of one of America's most renowned presidential historians and scholars, Arthur Schlesinger Jr. What makes Schlesinger unique and especially relevant for this election is that he is the only American political thinker to consider the question of what are the characteristics of a successful liberal presidency. He not only examines this question in the abstract, but uses the presidencies of FDR and JFK to inform his analysis. Most scholars associate Schlesinger with an activist, aggressive form of liberalism and presidential power. My book contends that his ideas about liberalism were more complex. Schlesinger reminds his readers that liberalism is and must be based on a recognition of the limits of what politics can achieve. It is as much about avoiding the worst outcomes as securing the best. Successful liberal presidents like JFK and FDR acted to restrain as well as heighten expectations. They were skeptical of presidential rhetoric that overpromised. He recounts, for instance, that Kennedy was fond of the Chinese proverb, "There is much noise on the stairs, but no one is getting into the room." Empty inspiration, JFK and Schlesinger agreed, was a trap that liberal presidents must be careful to avoid. The temptation to make broad promises in this election are especially strong. Schlesinger would remind the candidates and progressive voters that any promises and speeches and debates must be tied to realistic plans that can enjoy support from a broad swath of Americans. Thank you.
I'm Stephen Dyson from the University of Connecticut, and I'm the author of the University of Michigan Press book, Imagining Politics. In my book, I argue that we need to take fictional accounts of politics in television shows such as The West Wing, House of Cards, Borgen, The Thick of It, Veep. We need to take these representations seriously because they transmit images of politics to the general public. I also argue that political science constructs an image of politics. We think we're doing science and we're using neutral language of methodologies and causes and effects, but we're actually painting a picture of what politics is, and we're doing that every bit as much as TV fictions are doing. Imagining Politics was written against the backdrop of two huge shocks to politics as normal: the British vote to leave the European Union and the election of Donald Trump. And so it's interesting to be thinking about another presidential election, the 2020 election. Will this be a return to the storyline of politics as normal? I think this is a challenge for the Democrats and for Joe Biden. In Imagining Politics, I argued that the conception of politics as normal, the elite conception of politics as circulated in some of these televised fictions, had become pretty unattractive to the public. Donald Trump had fairly successfully circulated a different image of politics and of political authority through his TV show, The Apprentice. I guess a storyline I'm looking at in this election is whether Donald Trump's conception of politics is a TV show that the viewers want to renew. Is that kind of outsider story of politics still something that's compelling? And can the Democrats sell a more attractive version of the kind of technocratic elite competence that's circulated in the political TV shows that I address in my book?